The junior schoolmate drew the truth or dare challenge and took the initiative to kiss my boyfriend, Duan Xiao. I broke up with him in public, but he just thought I was being petulant. Don't be such a spoilsport. If it were you kissing someone else for the game, I wouldn't care at all. Duan Xiao just believed that a good girl like me wouldn't do anything out of line. In the next round, his brother, Fu Xizhou, the heartthrob of the finance department, also drew a truth or dare challenge. Take a girl to spend the night together. He slowly reached out his hand towards me and smiled with a curve of his lips. Do you want to give it a try with me tonight? Finally, I placed my hand in his palm and agreed. That night, Duan Xiao called me until my phone was about to explode. 01. The content of Xinying's truth or dare challenge was, please choose any boy present and kiss him for 3 minutes. The next second, her eyes landed directly on Duan Xiao beside me. Everyone looked over along her line of sight. Duan Xiao just lowered his eyes and played with my palm, as if he couldn't feel that scorching gaze. Xinying asked me timidly, Senior, can I borrow Senior Duan for 3 minutes? The air was so quiet that it seemed as if everyone had softened their breathing, nervously and expectantly watching this showdown. I really didn't understand. There are so many single boys here, why don't you ask someone else? She was speechless, biting her lower lip and showing an embarrassed look, but she still moved to the other side of the booth to ask other men. They all refused one by one until the third boy. I'm okay with it. The boy smiled lewdly. A French kiss. Xinying was so embarrassed that she was about to cry and kept shaking her head. No need, no need. The boy had drunk a little too much and directly grabbed Xinying's hand, boldly about to kiss her. Duan Xiao, who had been acting nonchalant beside me, finally stopped pretending. He let go of my hand, stood up, and pulled Xinying back. He sneered and questioned, is it interesting to bully a little girl? Xinying tightly held Duan Xiao's hand and looked at him for help. At the same time, I also grabbed his sleeve. Duan Xiao looked back at me. I didn't make him lose face. I smiled casually as if nothing had happened. My head hurts a bit. Can you take me home? Come with me, Duan Xiao. As long as you leave with me now, I will believe that you only like me and have no feelings for Xinying, who has been pestering you. Our eyes met. He avoided my hand. You know that, I can't leave. Seeing that my eyes were welling up with water as I looked straight at him, he let go of Xinying's hand and squatted in front of me. There was a bit more coaxing in his clear and quiet voice. Xinying is my direct junior. I have to protect her. Yuan, be good. He raised his hand and gently rubbed the corner of my eye. If you don't want to see it, don't look. Wait for me for a few minutes. I tightly grasped his sleeve, wrinkling the cuffs of his white shirt. Duan Xiao, if you kiss her, I will definitely break up with you. My eyes were extremely dry, but not a single tear fell. Staring into his eyes, I emphasized, I really will. Duan Xiao's patience ran out. He tore my fingers one by one. He stood up and looked down at me. Don't be so petty, Yuan. Meeting his eyes at this moment, I was stunned for a while. The last time I saw this kind of look in his eyes was when he heard that the nanny in his family wanted to introduce her daughter to him. There was endless contempt hidden in his polite refusal. 02. One of Duan Xiao's brothers couldn't stand it and couldn't help but persuade me. Sister-in-law, don't take it too seriously, it's just a game, his girlfriend whispered. Yeah, really a spoilsport. Why come to the bar if you can't play like this? Before I could speak, Fu Xizhou, who had been sitting in the corner of the box and silent all the time, suddenly chuckled. The focus of the whole audience instantly shifted to him. His eyes landed on the girl who had just spoken. His wrist was propped on his head. He asked slowly, you can play, then go and kiss all the men here. After saying that, he seemed to think of something and said slowly, except me, I can't play. He seemed to be very good at grasping the measure, enough to make the girl embarrassed, but not to the point of turning against her. Sure enough, the girl just stammered for a long time, her face flushed red, and she couldn't say anything. Fu Xizhou bit the cigarette lightly and lit one. Leaning against the booth, he threw the metal lighter on the coffee table. He sneered and threw her words back at her. Spoilsport. I stared at him in shock without blinking. I didn't expect that as Duan Xiao's friend, he would speak up for me. I was so surprised that even when the two people in front of me finished their 3-minute kiss, I just came back to my senses, skipping the step of being sad. 03. When Duan Xiao sat back beside me, I just opened my phone and directly deleted his WeChat. The faint satisfaction on his face instantly dissipated, and he looked at me emotionlessly. What do you mean? I told you just now, break up. Just as I was about to block his phone number, He pressed my hand. Are you going to be endless? Duan Shao laughed ridiculously, with a hint of thin anger in his confusion. It's just a game, how far do you want to act up? If it were you kissing someone else because of a game, I wouldn't care at all. He knew my rule-abiding character, so he was so unscrupulous. As soon as he finished speaking, the over there suddenly increased in volume. It was Fu Shizhou who had drawn the most exciting truth or dare challenge. Please take any girl present to spend the night. A boy smiled meaningfully and added, I mean, really go to a hotel and everything. At first, Fu Shizhou didn't move. People who knew him came out to smooth things over. Can't you see my brother Fu's shoulders are hunched? He has been extremely clean living for so many years. Just have a drink as a penalty and it's over. The people present didn't take it too seriously either. After all, so far, almost everyone who has drawn this truth or dare challenge has just perfunctorily passed it. Few have actually taken action. Wait, Fu Shizhou suddenly spoke, unexpectedly. He raised his eyes and looked at me. Everyone fell silent and stared in astonishment as he slowly walked up to me and reached out his hand to me. When he smiled with a curve of his lips, it seemed as if he could charm people's hearts. Do you want to consider giving it a try with me tonight? Duan Shao narrowed his eyes and sized up Fu Shizhou, smiling and reminding, if you're drunk, I'll have someone take you home. Shizhou, this is my girlfriend. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Fu Shizhou casually glanced at him sideways. So, it's just a game, Duan Shao. Don't be a spoilsport. Duan Shao looked indifferent. How could I be? My girlfriend is too conservative. She definitely won't agree to you. I'll just reject it for her. But the next second, I placed my hand in Fu Shizhou's palm. Okay. Duan Zhao's smile froze on his face. I thought of the malice in their tones every time I was called a good girl after entering university, as if they were looking at a futile remnant. The alcohol was fueling my rebellious mentality, so I agreed to him as if possessed. Fu Shizhou looked at me holding his hand and slightly raised his eyebrows. He pulled me up and walked towards the door. There were constant exclamations behind us. Damn it, that's Brother Fu, right? I'm not drunk and seeing things, am I? I'd rather believe that Brother Fu has been possessed. Duan Zhao's voice was the most obvious among them. Stop. He was still sitting in the booth. The way he looked at me was like looking at a willful child. In a casual tone, I just wanted to say, he smiled and said, remember to tell me which hotel you're staying in. I'll send you some condoms. I spoke up before Fu Shizhou, smiling brightly. No need. Are you being a bit too eager to please after breaking up and still worrying about your ex-girlfriend's hotel stay? Duan Shao. I looked at him with pity and refused not to euphemistically. Sorry, I don't really like lapdogs. Before Duan Shao could turn black-faced, I pulled Fu Shizhou and opened the door to leave. 04. It was only when I was sitting in Fu Shizhou's car that I let out a long, carefree sigh. The depression was completely gone. I politely thanked Fu Shizhou. Thank you, Senior Fu, for helping me out today. Just drop me off at the subway station ahead. I took it for granted that I didn't take that truth or dare challenge seriously, and most likely Fu Shizhou thought the same. He controlled the steering wheel with one hand, and his voice was lazy. Do you know the consequences of lying to them? I shook my head, but I didn't care too much either. Sometimes before playing truth or dare, people would make an oath like, if you lie, you'll be struck by lightning and stay single for the rest of your life. But I don't believe in such things. I took out my phone to see what was said in the group at that time. Group owner, let's play some exciting truth or dare tonight. Whoever lies will be poor for a lifetime, in debt, and never be able to get rich again. My pupils dilated in shock. I read these words over and over again. No. I really believe this. Before I could calm down from my panic, Fu Shizhou had already parked the car at the subway entrance. He jerked his chin towards the door and said with a half-smile, get out, junior schoolmate, it's just being poor for a lifetime, it's not a big deal. No, this is very important. I immediately shook my head and tightly held the door handle. Fu Shizhou seemed to have misunderstood. Can't open the door. As he spoke, he leaned over and placed his hand on the door handle. I didn't hesitate to press down on Fu Shizhou's hand to stop him from opening the door. His other hand was propped on the side of my seat, and his body was suspended above me. He quietly trapped me in the narrow space. Fu Shizhou looked down. What do you mean? A mess of thoughts was spinning rapidly in my mind. I blinked and blurted out, I want to sleep with you. Fu Shizhou's eyes showed no emotion, and he retreated to the driver's seat. He pulled the corner of his lips meaninglessly. But I don't want to. The atmosphere instantly froze into ice. It was so embarrassing that the top of my head seemed to be shaken. I at least had a mental breakdown 3 times in my heart before I slowly nodded. I didn't let my voice tremble. Sorry, I seem to have drunk a bit too much. I offended you, Senior Fu. I lowered my head and said goodbye softly. Then I'll go first. Fu Shijo's fingertips moved. And he locked the car door. He started the car without saying a word. I looked back. The boy's side face looked a bit colder and more solemn than before. I guessed that he was angry about my previous overstepping and didn't allow me to escape, so I endured the embarrassment and tentatively apologized again. I'm sorry, Senior, I didn't mean it. I really don't have any thoughts about you. I fidgeted in the passenger seat, my head lowered like a primary school student who had made a mistake. My voice was almost a murmur. I don't want to sleep with you. You're very handsome. But you're definitely not my type. Don't worry, Senior, you're safe. No one responded. The atmosphere in the car completely cooled down. I noticed that the car was speeding up. Why is Fu Shijo even more angry? 05. Under my nervous and rich mental activity changes, Fu Shijo stopped at the entrance of a bar, meeting my confused gaze. He pressed his forearm on the steering wheel and casually glanced at me, briefly explaining, "Don't forget, we have to be together all night." Oh. So we don't have to do that to avoid breaking the promise. Fu Shijo is really a clean, living and smart good student. I immediately got out of the car and followed his steps. Fu Shijo knew the owner of this place. He arranged for me to sit in the booth and then disappeared. A call from an unknown number quickly diverted my attention. On the other end of the receiver, Shening and Duan Xiao were chatting. "Senior Duan, why don't you call Senior's sister? Aren't you worried at all that she might cheat?" Duan Xiao thought her words were funny. "Don't I know how futile she is? She's just saying it casually to be angry with me." There was a hint of casualness in the boy's voice, as if he had everything under control. "She must have already gone back to the dormitory to sleep." Shening giggled. "But seeing how calm Senior is, it seems that you don't value Senior's sister very much either." There was a few seconds silence on the other side before the answer came. "Not that much." I was so angry that I immediately hung up the phone, feeling a sense of anger and shame at having the truth exposed, because I really was going to go back to the dormitory, wash up, and go to sleep. My chest felt as if it was blocked by a ball of wet cotton, heavy and suffocating. Just then, the cocktail I ordered was delivered. I directly grabbed it and took a big gulp. Trying to extinguish this nameless anger, the waiter looked at me speechlessly. Just as he turned to leave, he suddenly stopped. He turned around sharply. "Miss, the wrong drink was served. This one is a special blend our boss made for himself." He let out a panicked scream like a boiling kettle. I comforted him. "It's okay, I'll pay you the original price." The waiter ignored my words and threw away the tray, running towards the direction where Fu Shijo had left upstairs. 06. Soon I understood why he was so panicked. This drink, it was spiked. When Fu Shijo appeared in front of me, my sobriety dropped to 2.5% in an instant. Yuan, how are you?" The boy bent down and approached me. His cold hand was pressed against my cheek. "So cool." I leaned against him comfortably and rubbed against it again. But with 2.5% sobriety, I couldn't help but think of his rejection of me. Reluctantly, I pushed away his hand. I jumped off the swivel chair and walked outside. "Where are you going?" Fu Shijo grabbed my arm and frowned tightly. I thought about it and replied instinctively, "Senior, I seem to need a man now." Afraid that he might misunderstand, I seriously assured him, "But it won't be you. After all, he helped me. It would be too immoral for me to force myself on him." So I strengthened my tone and said word by word, "Don't worry, I won't look for you no matter who I look for." Fu Shijo's face had turned extremely ugly. He let go of my hand and asked coldly, looking down at me, "Really, Song Yuan, I hope you can do what you say." When I came to my senses again, I found that I had been carried by Fu Shijo to a hotel room upstairs at some point. At the same time, my self-control dropped another notch. I felt as if I was in a swamp in the tropical rainforest. Unbearably hot and restless, Fu Shijo took off all his upper body clothes. He was left with only a pair of gray drawstring sweatpants. He leaned lazily on the sofa and stared at me coldly. "Come here." My eyes swept over the 6 neatly arranged little buns on his abs. Then they fixed there and I couldn't look away. "Woo-woo." I obediently shuffled in front of him. Fu Shijo was playing with something that looked like a bottle of medicine in his hand. His peach blossom eyes were blurred and captivating. He half coaxed, half not. "For the sake of me helping you today, would you help me apply some medicine?" I nodded, feeling like a melting ice cream cone, hot and weak. but I still took on this arduous task. Where does it hurt, senior? Fu Shizhou took my hot hand and placed it on one of the little buns. Here. I blinked quickly and changed the subject, completely unaware that my face at this moment was like a ripe and overcooked peach. Fu Shizhou didn't answer. He took my hand and placed it on another little bun. This place also hurts, junior schoolmate. He returned to his flirtatious look, with a lingering smile. As I was applying the medicine, I unconsciously sat on his lap. He used the same trick again, taking my fingertips and stroking them against his lips. Does this place hurt too? I stared straight at those thin lips. Fu Shizhou's voice was hoarse. Give it a kiss and you'll know if it hurts. I put my arms around his neck, lured to the point of losing all my reason. I gently kissed him, and then pulled away immediately. Fu Shizhou placed his hands on my waist and looked down at me, asking softly, why did you stop kissing? I was a bit embarrassed and asked him for permission. Can I kiss again? After getting an affirmative answer, I kissed him again without any scruples. Fu Shizhou pressed the back of my head and took the initiative. He forcefully pried open my teeth without hesitation. 08. When Fu Shizhou's hand had already reached under my shirt, my phone rang inappropriately. Fu Shizhou held my face and continued to kiss my lips, until he looked up and glanced at the caller ID on the phone. Then he pulled back a little. He picked up the phone and answered it. On the other end, Duan Zhao's voice was deep and urgent. Song Yuan, where are you now? Your roommate told me you didn't go back to the dormitory. Who are you with right now? Fu Shizhou casually pecked at my lips and perfunctorily replied to him. Are you calling at this time to bring us birth control products? I completely ignored Duan Zhao on the phone. I still wanted more and rubbed against Fu Shizhou's arms, chasing his lips. More. Fu Shizhou smiled, pinched my chin and turned my head slightly. He drawled out an and whispered ambiguously, I'll give it to you later. Duan Zhao was rarely this manic. Fu Shizhou. You know how much I like Song Yuan and you still dare to touch her. You're not being a good brother. Fu Shizhou put the phone on speaker and threw it aside. He took my hand and placed it on the drawstring of his pants, teaching me to untie it. Regarding Duan Zhao's words, he replied in agreement. Then not anymore, not brothers anymore. I thought Duan Zhao was really annoying, because he kept babbling like an impatient king, causing Fu Shizhou to have no time to kiss me. I snatched the phone, hung up and turned it off. Fu Shizhou smiled knowingly, slightly tilted his head to avoid my nose and kissed me. 09. I had heard countless times from senior and junior schoolmates that Fu Shizhou was a taciturn and cold-hearted person, but he was particularly talkative tonight. Don't move, let me take it off for you. Yuan, this part is also very beautiful, don't cover it. He was extremely gentle. His words of praise and encouragement were particularly charming in his hoarse voice. Yuan. You're amazing, open your eyes and look at yourself in the mirror. Okay, how could it be? It's obviously sweet. Do you want to taste yourself? I almost drowned in such a sweet trap, unconsciously. I did many things that I would be so embarrassed about when I thought back to them after waking up that I would want to bang my head on the ground. 10. When I woke up the next day, Fu Shizhou had already left. He didn't leave a single word. Obviously, he didn't want to have any connection with me. It was just an accident. I sat up holding the quilt, feeling a bit of expected loneliness, but when the warm sunlight hit my shoulder with red marks, I quickly let it go. Consider it as me getting a free ride with the heartthrob of the department. 11. I didn't have a blackout, so I wasn't surprised at all when I saw Duan Zhao downstairs at the dormitory. Yuan, when Duan Zhao walked in front of me, his expression wasn't as furious as I had expected. His tone was even a bit softer than usual. I deleted all of Xinying's contact information and will keep my distance from her in the future. Can you just pretend that what you said about breaking up yesterday didn't happen? Okay. I didn't know what expression to make to convey my current shock and the indescribable feeling, compared to the behavior of him kissing Xinying and then dumping me. I couldn't understand how he clearly knew what happened between me and Fu Shizhou last night, yet he could immediately come to me to make up. I even suspected that he had a cuckold fetish. I paused and still asked in confusion, aren't you mind that I was with Fu Shizhou last night? He raised his hand and flicked my forehead, looking relaxed. Stop pretending. Yuan, I already know. You two didn't do anything last night. I was stunned. My first reaction was that Fu Shizhou had told him, right. His leaving without saying goodbye was already a strong indication that he wanted to hide the fact that I took advantage of him. As Duan Zhao spoke, he wanted to hug me, but you really did deceive me. I went crazy looking for you all night, so we're even. Okay. I was extremely annoyed and pushed Duan Zhao away forcefully. I said we broke up. Can you stop bothering me? Please stay away from me. I did divination all night last night and it said you're bad for my financial luck. I was tired after more than 3 hours last night. I went back to the dormitory, wrapped myself in the small quilt and continued to catch up on sleep. 12. I was woken up by my roommate until the afternoon. Yuan, there's a meeting in your club. The club president said she called you but your phone was off and couldn't reach you. She asked me to inform you. I sat up quietly. After a while, I yawned slowly. Okay. Thank you. Then, like a sloth, I slowly climbed out of bed, washed up, charged my phone and went out. When I walked to the club classroom, I had completely regained my energy. It wasn't time for the meeting yet. The president, including Fu Sizhou, hadn't arrived. A junior schoolmate came up to me hesitantly. She blushed and tugged at my sleeve. Senior, do you know if Vice President Fu Sizhou has a girlfriend? I want to chase him. An inexplicable sense of shame welled up in my heart. I didn't even know why I was feeling guilty. I shook my head at her. Probably not. The junior schoolmate's eyes lit up obviously and she asked, then do you know about Senior Fu? Can you tell me something about him? I shook my head more vigorously, trying to distance myself. To restore Fu Sizhou's pure and flawless image as a flower on a high mountain, I'm not familiar with him. I haven't even spoken a few words to him. The next second, a sarcastic laugh came from behind. True, after all. I was the one doing all the talking last night. All you said was hm and ah. I could feel a cold aura without even turning around. Fu Sizhou was wearing a windbreaker today. The zipper was pulled up to the very top, almost touching his chin. The all-black outfit added a bit of sternness to him. He leaned against the door frame with his arms crossed, smiling faintly. 13. I was pulled by Fu Sizhou to another empty classroom. He placed me on the table and supported himself on both sides of me with his hands. He stared at me coldly. I didn't see this coming. Junior schoolmate, you're so heartless. What a huge false accusation. I suddenly raised my head, and my lips almost brushed against his chin. Fu Sizhou obviously made an evasive movement. Who taught you this? Kiss and sleep with someone and not be responsible. I put on a straight face and retorted righteously. I didn't mean to kiss you. It was an accident. He snorted softly. I advise you to think again. For no reason, the scene of me asking Fu Sizhou for a kiss last night suddenly flooded into my mind. The straight-backed posture I had just assumed slumped down. Fu Sizhou was clearly angry. He continued to settle the score. Sleep with me and then run away without a word. Then he lowered his eyes and hooked the corner of his lips self-deprecatingly. He looked completely lonely. I didn't expect you to dislike me so much. To draw a clear line from me, not answering the phone or replying to messages, going to such lengths, I realized that there might be a misunderstanding. I didn't have the slightest thought of refuting or arguing back. My voice softened. I don't dislike you, Senior. I woke up and saw you weren't there. I thought you had left first. My phone was turned off all the time. I forgot to turn it on. I didn't mean to ignore you on purpose. He raised his eyebrows. Probably he didn't expect things to turn out this way. Then he spoke slowly to explain that he had gone to buy me breakfast this morning. He had already sent me a WeChat message to tell me. It was just that my phone was off and I didn't see it. The misunderstanding was cleared up. Fu Sizhou's hand landed on my waist. So, he smiled gently, but there was no smile in his eyes. Instead, there was a threat. Junior schoolmate. You'll be responsible for me, right? The last two words were bitten off particularly clearly, as if I denied it, I would meet the Grim Reaper. I shivered and nodded like I was going to my doom. Fu Sizhou finally let me go. I jumped off the table and was about to go back to the meeting. The person behind me called me again. He put away his smile, looking gentle and serious. Afraid you might misunderstand that I'm only doing this for the sake of responsibility, so I want to emphasize this. Fu Sizhou looked at me. His eyes were cleaner than a clear spring. I like you, since a long time ago. 14. When I got along with Fu Sizhou, I always felt a bit of unfamiliar awkwardness, especially after he confessed, but it seemed that only I was awkward. Until that time, after completely breaking through this barrier, I just let it all go. Someone reminded on the school confession wall. Recently, there has been a perverted man around the school. He is very fat. He loves to expose his private parts to girls on the street. He gets pleasure from the girls' screams and running away in a panic. 15. Near the end of the semester, I was already annoyed by memorizing the key points. That day, I happened to meet the perverted man when I was like a firecracker. On the quiet street in the evening, there was no sound of my terrified scream. The perverted man was stunned and looked at my calm expression in confusion. I took a look and clicked my tongue in annoyance. I started cursing completely. Do you think you have something to show off so you expose it on the street? Are you so proud of having a chili pepper hanging on a tree? Compared with my boyfriend, it's really delicate and small. Using all the adjectives for tiny in the world is not enough to describe it. Perverted man, you, don't get defensive. I took out my phone, unlocked it and started recording him. Don't you like to show off? I'll start a live stream to promote you. You're welcome. I kept my other hand in my bag, holding a stun gun. I stared at the perverted man's every move. If he didn't run away but attacked me in a fit of anger, I would shock him so that he wouldn't be able to feel his little chili pepper for the rest of his life. He looked fierce, but suddenly his eyes stopped on something behind me. Immediately, he didn't know whether to cover his face or his chili pepper and ran away, before I could feel proud of my righteous act of getting rid of the evil. Unhurried footsteps sounded behind me. The moment I turned around, I completely froze in place. The moment I met Fusijo's eyes, I wished I could be struck by lightning. Fusijo's peach blossom eyes were filled with an extremely lascivious smile at this moment. He had just opened his mouth when he was interrupted by another voice not far away. May I ask, who is the boyfriend you mentioned? Duan Shao didn't know how long he had been standing there. His expression was blank. But it was like the calm before a storm. Fusijo quietly stood in front of me, looking back at Duan Shao. He smiled casually. What do you think? Duan Shao stared at him and issued a final ultimatum. Sijo, this has nothing to do with you. I'm talking to Song Yuan. In a flash, I suddenly remembered a question that I had always overlooked. Why was Duan Shao so sure that nothing had happened between me and Fusijo that day? Obviously, Fusijo hadn't told him anything. As I was thinking this, Duan Shao himself said it. Didn't you two stay in the bar all night and never come out? The hand hanging by his side was already bulging with veins. You'd better not tell me. You did it in the bar booth. He twitched the corner of his mouth and sneered disdainfully. Isn't that too disgusting? I walked out from behind Fusijo and questioned, how do you know we went to the bar again? Duan Shao, were you following us? His smile turned even colder. Do I have that much free time? Then he brought up the chat records of the small group in the department he was in charge of in the club and showed them to us. One of the group members' home was just near that bar. When he was going home, he happened to see Fusijo's car. So he sent it to the group. The next morning, he saw that the car hadn't moved, coupled with the image that Fusijo had established in the past 3 years of keeping a respectful distance from girls. So he took it for granted and came to the conclusion on his own. Me and Fusijo just stayed in the bar all night to fulfill the truth or dare challenge. As for the phone call that Duan Shao made in the middle, it was also considered as us deliberately making sarcastic remarks to annoy Duan Shao. 16 Duan Shao put away his phone and his gaze swept back and forth between the two of us. Finally, it settled on Fusijo, and he smiled calmly. Fusijo, if you really slept with my girlfriend, I'll fucking kill you. I immediately stepped in front of Fusijo and looked at him warily. My voice was stern. Duan Shao, don't go crazy. I'll emphasize it one last time. I broke up with you that night in the bar. Fusijo seemed not to feel the solemn atmosphere. He maintained his usual calm and composure. He pushed aside my hand and walked up to Duan Shao. He curved his lips seductively and his words were provocative. It wasn't me who slept with her. It was her who slept with me. The taut rope suddenly snapped. Duan Shao cursed and made a move to raise his hand, but was pressed down by Fusijo. Instead, he took a punch from Fusijo. This was the first time I saw him full of hostility. Fusijo grabbed his collar and leaned in. What right do you have to question me? If you hadn't done those fuck things, would she have left you? Duan Shao panted heavily and tried to fight back, but he was kicked hard in the chest by Fusijo and fell to the ground. He looked down at him almost disdainfully. I'm really confused. What on earth gives you the confidence to be sure that no matter what you do, she won't leave you? Duan Shao looked at me, who was watching coldly not far away, his eyes deep and complex. I turned a blind eye to it. When Fusijo came over, I naturally took his hand and left. I didn't deliberately lower my voice as I complained about my ex to my current boyfriend. He's so weak. 17. Duan Shao was just a small episode. What was supposed to come would still come. After the last class in the evening, I followed Fusijo to his apartment outside, because he had a super cute Siamese cat. I went there with no ulterior motives at first, until after dinner, when we were watching a movie. Fusijo fed me half a bottle of fruit wine. At the slightly tipsy stage, I was so bold that I could pierce the sky. Fusijo held me on his lap and asked with great interest, Do you still remember its size? I was fed up with his confident and flirtatious attitude, so I just decided to let it all go. I blinked and looked at him innocently. Yes, is there a problem? I pointed to a certain position on my lower abdomen. It reached here at that time. Fusijo smiled and lowered his head to bite my lips. Is that so? He started his praising mode again. Yuanyuan had a really good appetite that day. His fingertips slid to my lower abdomen and circled seductively. You'll do great today too, right? I blushed again, unconvincingly. My eyes were even burning hot. Stop seducing me all the time, Fusijo. His kiss had moved to the side of my neck, and his voice was getting lower and lower. Then do you like it? I couldn't control my breathing and let out a soft moan. I murmured in reply, I like it. The Siamese cat was locked in the bedroom by Fusijo. The sofa developed a function it didn't originally have. It endured everything it shouldn't have endured. That night, I was forced to say I like you countless times. 18. This time, I woke up in Fusijo's arms. I turned around in his arms to face him, remembering our time together during this period and the subtle influence he had on me. Fusijo is really good at this. If he wanted to, he could be more promiscuous than Duan Xiao and play more tricks, but he said, he only likes me. When I was in a daze, Fusijo woke up, our eyes met unexpectedly, and I only realized later, the progress bar named like Fusijo had already loaded more than half without me realizing it. Fusijo squinted his eyes slightly, tightened his arm and pulled me into his arms. He rubbed his face against the crook of my neck. He mumbled with a sleepy nasal voice, I love you, Song Yuan, I love you. The lower half of my face was also pressed against the side of his neck. It was a more intimate gesture than when we were passionately entangled, making me feel even more shy. I replied in a small voice, I know. The movement of Fusijo holding me paused imperceptibly for a moment, then it returned to normal. Okay, he didn't ask me anything. 19. Since that day in the bar, Shining had always been beaming with joy. She looked like she was deeply in love, but by chance, on the way out of school with Fusijo, we met her, who had just been crying. She blocked our way and her tone was hesitant. Senior, are you together with Song Yuan? Fusijo smiled politely and asked back, what does it have to do with you? Shining forced a smile. I just want to remind you, Senior, you might not know what kind of person Song Yuan is at all. Don't be deceived by her. I immediately lost my temper. Yeah. You know me the best. You might as well change your name to Shen Huichong, exclusive version for Song Yuan. From now on, Shining became angry from embarrassment and growled, Song Yuan, shut up. Fusijo interrupted her, maintaining the last bit of his courtesy. Compared to Song Yuan, I do know you better. Shining couldn't believe it. Senior, you mean? Fusijo sized her up thoughtfully. A mistress, a home wrecker, he asked politely. Which term would you prefer me to use to address you? Xingying's face turned pale and then red. In the end, the troublemaker left with a belly full of anger. It was really satisfying. That night, to reward Fusijo, I tried to change from being passive to taking the initiative. Soon I found out that lying down was the most energy-saving position. I didn't take Shining seriously. But I didn't expect that she would dare to accuse me of dating two people at the same time in the school's super topic with her real name. And it became very popular. She presented the whole thing in the form of a video. The girl's eyes were red and she looked haggard. The title was, This is not about exposing someone. I just want to use the power of public opinion to make Senior Song Yuan realize the seriousness of the problem and stop destroying my relationship with my boyfriend. The whole video described how I had an ongoing connection with Duan Xiao while I was dating Fusijo. As a result, her relationship with Duan Xiao broke down and Duan Xiao broke up with her. Yes, she didn't mention at all that she had interfered in my relationship with Duan Xiao. I closed my eyes, feeling a rush of anger. I hesitated for a long time before clicking on the comment section. I had already prepared myself to be scolded severely. However, top comment 1, my goodness, the mistress is crying out for injustice. Do you think we won't know about your interference just because you blurred the details of your relationship with Duan Xiao? Top comment 2, even without reading that Weibo post, I don't believe you, little sister. Ever since I learned that Senior Song Yuan caught a pervert with her bare hands, I've unconditionally become her fan. Top comment 3, I came from that Weibo post and specifically came here to scold you, you mistress. Top comment 4, oh right, to prevent the scumbag from hiding. I'm scolding both of you, you two are a disgusting couple. I've already reported that guy surnamed Duan, he won't be able to be the club president anymore. That Weibo post, I scrolled down further. and many people mentioned another Weibo post. It took about half a minute to find the link to that Weibo post. I clicked in and was shocked again. It was posted by Fu Sizhou with his real name. There was a narrative of about 3,000 words accompanied by a few pictures. It not only clearly and convincingly clarified that Duan Xiao had been pestering me persistently, but also firmly proved that Shening was the mistress. Most importantly, 2 minutes after Shening exposed me, Fu Sizhou followed up with a clarification post. 20. I immediately called Fu Sizhou. How did you guess that Shening was going to slander me and prepared these evidences in advance? He chuckled softly. He denied it, saying, I just took precautions based on her nature. I couldn't hold back my smile as I supported my cheek with my hand, but I still pretended to be reserved for a moment. You didn't have to prepare them in advance. The truth won't be buried anyway. In the end, Shening will definitely shoot herself in the foot. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Then Fu Sizhou said, but I don't want to give them any chance to scold you. My mind went blank. I finally understood his intention. Only by clarifying the matter immediately could I be maximally protected from being cyberbullied due to misunderstandings. It was as if fireworks exploded in my mind, scattering my rationality. Only love bubbles were left. After hanging up the phone, I ran towards the club's meeting room to find Fu Sizhou. 21. When I arrived, I unexpectedly heard Duan Zhao's voice through the door. Fu Sizhou. You're so afraid of me. Fu Sizhou indulged him as if he were coaxing a fool. Whatever you say is fine. I saw the clarification Weibo post you sent. Duan Xiao didn't care about his perfunctory attitude. Instead, he was full of interest. You sent it so quickly. It's obvious that you had the evidence ready long ago. But why? He chuckled. Because you're afraid that I'll come out and clarify things. Through a narrow glass window, I saw the electronic pen in Fu Sizhou's hand drop to the ground. He didn't say a word. Duan Zhao's expression became even more arrogant. You're afraid that if I come out and clarify, I'll steal your credit, and then Yuanyuan will be touched and get back together with me. If I'm not mistaken, Yuanyuan hasn't said that she likes you yet, right? Fu Sizhou came to his senses and picked up the pen. There was no emotion visible on his face. Are you done? The door is over there. I won't see you out. Duan Xiao seemed not to have heard him. His tone was a mix of emotion and pride. I know her better than you. It's impossible for her to fall in love with you so quickly. Even if she's with you, it's because you've slept together. It has to force it. Fu Sizhou, let Yuanyuan go. This overly confident guy. I found a basin in the storage room next door, went to the bathroom to fill it halfway with water, and then pushed the door open and went in. Yuanyuan. Duan Xiao put away his arrogant expression and called my name nervously. I didn't look at Fu Sizhou immediately. Instead, I held the basin in front of Duan Xiao. Duan Xiao looked down at the basin. There was a hint of unexpected joy in his eyes and brows. You, I interrupted him. Look down. Duan Xiao did as I said. Can you see clearly? I suddenly let go of the basin. The basin fell to the ground. Duan Xiao couldn't dodge in time and his pant legs got splashed wet. I thought your family was so poor that you couldn't afford a mirror. So I was kind enough to get you a basin of water so that you could see your true face. I was so angry that I launched a fierce attack. Why is it impossible for me to fall in love with Fu Sizhou so quickly? Do you mean that I have to mourn for you for a year before I can like someone else? He's better looking than you and more devoted. He's better than you in every way. Should I not cut my losses in time and go for a mutual relationship with him, but instead stay up late for you? Listen to sad songs and write emotional essays. Duan Xiao pursed his lips and looked at me gloomily. Just because of that 3-minute kiss, you immediately abandoned me. Is that fair to me? So he doesn't understand human language. I took a deep breath to calm myself down. I forced a smile at Duan Xiao. If you think you've been treated unfairly, you can sue me. He was about to say something more when the club president appeared and interrupted his neurotic speech. The president's expression was serious. The matter between you and Shening has already caused a stir on the internet and has had a great impact on the school. The instructor will come to find you soon. The punishments for the two of you won't be light. Duan Xiao still stared at me stubbornly, as if he wanted to say something more. I held back the urge to gloat in his face and quickly dragged Fu Sizhou, who had been silent for a long time, away. 22. By the quiet and deserted lake. The cloudy weather made it easier to feel irritable today than usual. I had a solemn expression and was speechless as I faced Fu Sizhou. I was whether to explain first or confess my love first, but I heard his apology first. Part of the reason is indeed that I'm afraid you'll get back together with Duan Xiao. But my original intention was really to prevent you from being attacked by public opinion, I sighed. I held his face in my hands and our eyes met. Fusijo, you don't have to be so cautious, even if it's the first reason, you don't need to apologize, because I like you, and things like this just make me think you're cute. He paused. After a few seconds, he let out a soft laugh. It's actually half a year earlier, I hummed. Half a year of what? Fusijo looked at the artificial lake, his eyes a bit distant. I was prepared for you to fall in love with me in half a year, of course. I also thought that you might never fall in love with me, but I've always been optimistic. I thought that as long as I'm good enough to you, better than everyone else, at least you won't like someone else, he said softly, maybe you'd be willing to stay with me. Fusijo, who had always been called the favored one of heaven, could actually say such humble words with a calm face. The sadness outweighed the touch. I buried myself in his arms and sobbed softly. Fusijo, are you a love-struck person? He hugged me back and gently rubbed the back of my head, his voice lazy. I'm in love with you. I hugged him a little tighter and corrected him with a slight nasal voice. No, you should put yourself first and not lose yourself. Fusijo raised his tone slightly and chuckled. Senior, can I borrow Senior Duan for 3 minutes? He said in a self-deprecating tone. If I could control it, I would have stopped liking you long ago. During the days when my relationship with Duan Xiao was flourishing and there were no cracks, Fusijo's secret love was always in the dark. It was an endless night that couldn't be seen the end of. From being unbearable to becoming numb, I don't know when the cumulus clouds dispersed, and the dappled light and shadow fell on his shoulders, I told him seriously, from now on, I'll be with you. Even though our future is still uncertain and full of hardships and obstacles, I will still step onto this path with you without hesitation and spare no effort to overcome every obstacle. Fusijo smiled gently. Yes, he motioned for me to look at the sun that had broken through the last layer of clouds. Look, the sky is brightening up. Story 2. When the impoverished Shen Ming ordered me to give his little childhood sweetheart 30,000 yuan every month, otherwise he wouldn't accept my sponsorship, I knew he had also been reborn, in my previous life. I poured money and resources into making him the richest man in Asia, but he thought he was born to be a domineering CEO. He even condescendingly threatened me. I'm only giving you this one chance, miss it, and even if you kneel down and beg me, it won't work. I immediately stopped his card, bought him a bottle of sleeping pills, and let him be the richest man in his dreams every day. ###1. During the big break, Gu Jingqing came to ask me for money, hugging his little childhood sweetheart. He slapped the note with the bank card number on the table and then ordered me, from now on, you transfer 30,000 yuan of living expenses to Warner's account every month. Suddenly, the people around cast strange glances. They probably had never seen such an arrogant impoverished student asking someone for money without even a word of explanation. I was so angry that I laughed. Why should I? He turned around, with an expression of how dare you question me, and sneered. It's just 30,000 yuan. Do you still need a reason? 30,000 yuan can't even buy one of my ties. He raised his chin and was about to fasten his tie, but what he was wearing wasn't some high-end custom-made suit, but a sweatshirt bought online for 500 yuan. Gu Jingqing had been President Gu for too long in his previous life and had actually forgotten that he used to be an impoverished student with less money in his pocket than on his face. In my previous life, I spent money and resources to forcefully make him the richest man in Asia, but he thought he was born to be President Gu. He was used to bossing around his subordinates on weekdays and always spoke to me in a tone of notice and command, but without me, what was he? 30,000 yuan for a tie. Are you daydreaming, Gu Jingqing? Before I sponsored you, you couldn't even afford a 10 yuan boxed meal. I coldly laughed and crumpled the note into a ball, casually throwing it into the trash can. Also, why should I give her living expenses? I'm not her mother. Gu Jingqing's face turned livid. Just as he was about to get angry, Song Xiaowan, his little childhood sweetheart, blocked him protectively like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Su Ranran, how can you be so vicious? 30,000 yuan is nothing to you, but it's the living expenses for me and brother Gu for a month. Your family is so rich. Helping us is only natural. Is it necessary to humiliate us like this? After saying that, she herself cried grievously. Brother Gu, even if my mother and I end up on the streets, I won't allow you to put down your dignity and beg her for my sake. Seeing the little childhood sweetheart who was bullied to tears by me, that vicious woman, Gu Jingqing was so that he quickly pulled her into his arms and comforted her softly. In the previous life, Song Xiaowan donated a kidney to him. He thought that was true love and also regarded me as a stumbling block on the road of their relationship, but in fact, I paid a high price for that kidney. Song Xiaowan raised the price at the last moment before the operation to extort me, which was why the two of them had a chance to meet again. Gu Jingqing embezzled public funds to buy her a villa, luxury cars, and pay off her mother's huge gambling debts. I endured it. I don't stop the reborn Gu Jingqing from rekindling his relationship with her, but he actually wants to continue spending my money to repay Song Xiaowan for the kindness of a kidney. Why? Do I look like a big fool? I was so angry that I laughed instead. I took out my phone to notify the school to withdraw the sponsorship for Gu Jingqing. Unexpectedly, he took the initiative to say, "Su Ranran, if you don't give her the money, then I don't want your sponsorship either." What kind of threatening tone is this? It seems that his acceptance of my sponsorship is a charity to me, and he also wants me to be grateful. I was really blind in my previous life. How could I like a pretentious man like him who has no destiny of being a domineering CEO but is full of the domineering CEO disease? I found the remittance records I gave him in the past 2 years and endured the nausea. Gu Jingqing, if you're a man with a bit of backbone, return the money you spent of mine. I'll give you a discount. It's a total of 800,000 yuan, 800,000 yuan. I'll pay you back 8 million yuan in 10 years. Gu Jingqing sneered disdainfully and continued to threaten me. However, Su Ranran, listen up, I'm only giving you this one chance. Miss it, and even if you kneel down and beg me, it won't work. I racked my brains but couldn't figure out where his honeydew confidence came from. Could he really think that after he topped the Forbes rich list in 10 years, he could just move his fingers and make my family go bankrupt? It's ridiculous. Does he really think he became the richest man by his own strength? Little does he know that it was all because of my family that he was promoted, provide raw materials, technical support, and connections to a dog, and the dog could also become the richest man. Not only does he not feel grateful, but he also fantasizes that I have to fawn over him like those sycophants. Looking at his sinister looking face as if he was saying, if you don't fawn over me, I'll make you look good in 10 years. I rolled my eyes big time. I found someone to freeze his sponsorship card and wrote an IOU of 800,000 yuan. Gu Jingqing stamped his handprint stubbornly and viciously threw down a harsh word at me. Don't you ever regret it? Then hugged his childhood sweetheart and turned around to leave. I regret it. I regret raising this white-eyed wolf in my previous life. And I'm even more afraid that he'll go back on his word and come to pester me again. ###2. After school, I called the driver to pick me up. Just as I opened the car door, I was pushed hard from behind. I stumbled. If it weren't for a kind-hearted passer-by who helped me, I would have fallen heavily to the ground. Holding back my anger, I fixed my eyes and saw that it was Gu Jingqing. He was pushing the tearful Song Xiaowan into the car, and then he got in himself. The moment he closed the car door, he didn't forget to order me. Wanner's mother was beaten into the hospital by the debt collectors. The situation is not good, you take a taxi back. Then he turned around and ordered the driver, drive, go to the hospital. The driver uncle looked at him like he was a fool, and without saying a word, took out his phone to call the police. Gu Jingqing angrily kicked the back of the passenger seat hard. Drive, if you delay Aunt Song's condition, you can't afford the consequences. The driver uncle calmly took pictures of his criminal evidence, then turned off the engine and got out of the car, directly locking the two of them in the car. Two lunatics suddenly broke into the car, damaged the leather seats, and scared my young lady. I've controlled the two of them. Please, police comrades, come out immediately. I burst out laughing and folded my arms, watching Gu Jingqing show off his domineering CEO air in the car. Sure enough, without me, he was nothing. Song Xiaowan was crying anxiously in the car, which made Gu Jingqing extremely. He took a deep breath and turned to look at me, looking like a warrior sacrificing his dignity for love. Su Ranran, I can accept your sponsorship, but don't fantasize that I'll like you. I don't want Brother Gu to sacrifice so much for me. Song Xiaowan pointed at my nose and cursed. Su Ranran, you actually used such despicable means to force Brother Gu to be with you. Don't even think about it. I will never allow you to humiliate Brother Gu's dignity with money again. Stop talking, Wanner. For you, I'm willing to do anything. Me, does anyone care about my life? I just funded a poor student to repay society. What's wrong with me? Besides, I didn't like Gu Jingqing until 3 years later. Why do the two of them act like star-crossed lovers who have been separated? At this time, the police uncle came and directly invited the two of them out. Gu Jingqing's face was dark as he stared at me and asked, "Su Ranran, what do you mean, using this way to attract my attention? You're so childish." I gestured towards my head to the police uncle and whispered, "They're mentally ill, it's recommended to send them to the hospital directly." Then, I smiled and told Gu Jingqing, "It doesn't mean anything, I just asked the police uncle to send you two to the hospital." The police uncle looked at them suspiciously. Dressed shabbily but acting so arrogant and looking down on everyone, they really didn't seem normal. "You two want to go to the hospital?" "Yes," the police uncle suddenly understood. "Oh, then get in the car, I'll take you there." As for which hospital they were sent to, I have no idea. Just in the middle of the night when I woke up, seeing 56 missed calls and 99 plus WeChat messages from Gu Jingqing, I knew they didn't go to a proper hospital. Half an hour ago, the last text message Gu Jingqing sent me was, "Answer my call within 3 minutes, or else bear the consequences." He was having another bout of domineering CEO disease again. I yawned and directly turned off my phone to sleep. ####3. The next day, during the school sports meeting, when I went to the cafeteria to carry water, I saw Gu Jingqing and Song Xiaowan having a meal. I heard that the two of them were locked up in the psychiatric department for a whole night. And finally the school came forward to bail them out. The monitor quietly came up to my ear and complained, "I thought they were quite normal before. How did they suddenly get sick?" Last night, Gu Jingqing called all the classmates in the class, saying that he was the future richest man. As long as they could gather 500 yuan to ransom him now, he would repay them 100 times in 10 years. This is even more overstep than the last time when the first emperor called to appoint me as a general in a telecom fraud. I sprayed out a mouthful of water directly, so there were more victims than I expected. Last night, my dad and all the managers in the company whose names I could remember received calls from Gu Jingqing. He said he had a cooperation project that was sure to make a fortune, as long as they could get him out of the psychiatric department. My dad was so scared that he held an emergency meeting with Panda Eyes in the morning, speculating whether a hacker had leaked the company's secrets. Otherwise, how could a lunatic call their internal phone numbers? This really can't be blamed on Gu Jingqing. He was an orphan since he was a child and had no relatives to rely on. He finally had a little childhood sweetheart, but her mother was a gambling addict. The two of them had no money at all. So of course they had to target the people around me. This life, I don't want to have any more dealings with them. I wanted to leave, but the monitor excitedly pulled me back, motioning for me to continue watching the show. Gu Jingqing was having another bout of illness again. He held a glass of orange juice in his hand and kept shaking it like he was shaking red wine, looking at the 15 yuan steak in front of him. A sarcastic arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. "This kind of trash also dares to be called food. Throw it on the ground, and even a dog won't eat it." "Brother Gu, I know you look down on this kind of cheap stuff, but you've been hungry for a day, you should at least eat something." Gu Jingqing snorted coldly, "Even if I starve to death, this kind of trash doesn't deserve to enter my stomach." The cafeteria owner who was frying the steak had a hot temper. He chopped a knife on the chopping block. "You two used a coupon to order the cheapest steak here. It's okay to ask me to give an extra serving of spaghetti, but you're still being picky. Eat if you can, and get out if you can't. What kind of status do you have to talk to me like this?" "Believe it or not, I can make your store close down with just one phone call." Song Xiaowan anxiously tried to persuade him. "Brother Gu, don't be like this. Their small business is not easy either." The monitor, who had been watching the show the whole time, pinched his thigh hard, but still couldn't help laughing. This laugh didn't matter, and it successfully attracted Gu Jingqing's attention. The moment he looked at me, the hairs on his arms suddenly stood up. I didn't even have time to carry the mineral water. I turned around and ran, but unfortunately, I still didn't escape. I was blocked at the end of the corridor by Gu Jingqing, who was red-eyed and with his hands on his hips. "Su Ranran, you can't afford the price of angering me." I looked up at the sky speechlessly. What kind of sin had I committed to suffer this inhumane torture? "What, are you jealous when you see me with Warner? You came up with this way to take revenge on me. Su Ranran, this is all you're capable of. However, I advise you to save it and put away those little tricks to seduce me. I've already made a private engagement with Warner. It's absolutely impossible for me to be with you. Stay away from us two in the future." If I find out that you have any improper thoughts again, I won't let you go. I tried hard to recall how I fell in love with Gu Jingqing in my previous life. At that time, he wasn't the key person my family was cultivating. There were many people who were more outstanding and promising than him, but I just thought Gu Jingqing was different and extraordinary. Now I find that he's really not a normal person. I interrupted his confident speech and mercilessly exposed him. You're really smart to use this way to skip the bill. Don't think I didn't notice that Gu Jingqing secretly stuffed several pieces of beef into his mouth. He staged such a big show because he didn't have the money to pay for the meal and didn't want to lose face. The cafeteria has a rule that poor students can wash dishes to offset the meal cost, but how could Gu Jingqing, who had been the richest man for a lifetime, lower his face to wash dishes in the back kitchen? Of course, he would push it all to Song Shaowan to do, and I was just the best tool person for him to skip the bill. Gu Jingqing, whose thoughts were exposed by me, became angry from embarrassment and punched the wall behind me. I kindly reminded him, there are surveillance cameras here. Dare to touch a single hair of mine, and the money you owe me will double, in 10 years. Don't talk about 10 years. You won't even last 10 days before you starve to death. My naked sarcasm completely hurt Gu Jingqing's sensitive and fragile self-esteem. He let go of me and, in extreme anger, laughed instead. Then let's wait and see. ###4. The school sports meeting was undoubtedly the best opportunity for Gu Jingqing to turn things around. On this day, the school would invite business tycoons to visit. Every poor student would actively participate in the competitions. If they performed well, they would be selected to get the opportunity to be sponsored. Gu Jingqing was the long-distance running champion every year, and his academic performance was always in the top 3 in the school. Soon, he attracted the attention of a real estate tycoon. The head teacher immediately pulled Gu Jingqing over and praised him to the skies. Mr. Li, this classmate Gu is a top-notch student who can definitely get into Tsinghua University. Sponsoring him is definitely the right choice. In the previous life, Gu Jingqing did get into Tsinghua University, but he wasn't a good student, but a disaster, the kind that whoever gets involved with him will have bad luck. Mr. Li nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. From now on, our company will sponsor you 5,000 yuan per month until you graduate from university. 5,000 yuan. Gu Jingqing's face immediately fell. Are you humiliating me with 5,000 yuan? Classmate, 5,000 yuan is not a small amount. It's enough for your daily expenses at school. He looked down his nose and sneered sarcastically. The real estate industry is in decline and doesn't have much room for development in the future. I reluctantly accept your sponsorship, but you only give me 5,000 yuan. How can I form a team and do research in the future? I'm different from those poor students who just muddle along and stretch out their hands for money. In the future, I'm going to lead the team to the top of international technology. If you can't afford to sponsor me, then make way for others. After saying that, regardless of Mr. Li's face turning purplish with anger, he turned around and left. The head teacher was furious and called out to him, Gu Jingqing. He turned around, with his hands in his pockets. In the future, don't recommend companies in sunset industries like this to me. The people who sponsor me should at least have a net worth higher than Su Ranran's parents. I will review their qualifications one by one. Those who don't meet the standards have no right to sponsor me. His words made Mr. Li extremely angry. No matter how the principal and the head teacher apologized, he firmly refused to sponsor the poor students in our school anymore. This also directly implicated 2 other innocent classmates. The twin sisters who had grown up with their grandparents since childhood were so excited that they cried when they heard that a company was willing to sponsor them to go to college. But because of Gu Jingqing's actions, the opportunity was gone, and the 2 sisters squatted on the ground crying bitterly. I couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward to comfort them. It doesn't matter. Su's group is willing to sponsor you. Really? Is 10,000 yuan per person per month enough? No. No, that's too much. 2,000 yuan for the 2 of us per month is enough. The 2 sisters knelt on the ground and kowtowed to me. Thank you, my sister, and I will definitely repay your great kindness after we graduate from college. Look, there are still grateful people in the world. After the school sports meeting, the class held a dinner party. As 2 penniless parasites, it was no surprise that they came to freeload. Gu Jingqing didn't pay a single cent but sat in the main seat. Being picky about everything, the decoration was bad, the service was bad, and the dishes were bad. He might as well have written the word disdain on his face. The head teacher and the classmates were almost annoyed to death by them. During the day, Gu Jingqing not only angered an investor but also made our class lose 2 medals that we should have won. The reason was that Song Xiaowan fell while doing the long jump and scraped her knee. Gu Jingqing, who was still participating in the relay long distance race, suddenly threw away the relay baton, picked up Song Xiaowan, and rushed into the infirmary. He even threatened the school doctor, "If you can't cure her, I'll hold you accountable." Seeing that we all ignored him, Gu Jingqing, who was used to being the center of attention, couldn't sit still. He poured the beer he had taken a sip of directly into the grilled fish plate in front of him. Then tapped his fingers on the table and coldly asked, "Who chose this place? The taste is so bad." Gu Jingqing knew very well that this restaurant was owned by my family and was deliberately trying to make things difficult for me. The monitor couldn't stand it anymore and retorted, "Classmate Gu, we all think this place is very good. Do you have any dissatisfaction?" "Good," Gu Jingqing sneered. "Have you ever seen a really good restaurant? It's a pity that you'll never get to see it in your life." Song Xiaowan also chimed in, "Some people are just born with a poor and shabby fate. Brother Gu, don't argue with them. They'll never be able to catch up with you in their lives." One was bragging hard, and the other was flattering hard. The two of them were really a match made in heaven. I held down the monitor's hand, which was shaking with anger, and smiled. The future richest man surely doesn't need us poor people to chip in for the meal, right? Then, I'll trouble the richest man to pay the bill for today's class dinner. I put the bill in front of him, and Gu Jingqing took a look but didn't say anything. I immediately exclaimed, 3,000 yuan is nothing to classmate Gu, right? Not to mention 3,000 yuan. Gu Jingqing couldn't even find 30 yuan on him. He knew I was deliberately belittling him. But for the sake of his richest man face, he took the bill and went out, dragging Song Xiaowan beside him. When they came back, the heirloom jade pendant around Song Xiaowan's neck was gone. She glared at me viciously, as if I was the one who had sold her heirloom to show off. Just then, a group of uninvited guests burst into the party, ###5. Without saying a word, they grabbed Song Xiaowan and dragged her out. Judging from their appearance and attire, they looked like hooligans. And they were swearing foully, "Your mother owes us usury. If you don't pay it back today, don't blame us brothers for being rude. That's what my mother owes you. Go find her. I'm just a student. I don't have any money." Song Xiaowan's face turned pale with fright, and she tightly grabbed the table corner, refusing to let go. After all, they were classmates. Several boys in the class wanted to save her, but they were forced back by the hooligans brandishing knives. The leader of the hooligans waved Song Xiaowan's student ID in front of her and said that her mother had escaped from the hospital that morning. Before leaving, she left a letter saying that the daughter should pay off the mother's debt and that she was giving Song Xiaowan to them to pay off the debt. I suddenly remembered that in the previous life, Song Xiaowan sold her kidney and even blackmailed me. Presumably, she was also forced by her mother. However, a poor person must have something hateful about them. She should never have killed me in order to cling to Gu Jingqing, this big tree. Just as Song Xiaowan was being forcibly dragged away, she suddenly shouted, "I have money, I have money. My boyfriend is the future richest man. He promised me that he would definitely pay off the debt for me." Future richest man. Seeing that the hooligans didn't believe it, she quickly assured them, "Really, my boyfriend will be very rich in the future. This little gambling debt is nothing to him. Look, he's here." Everyone followed Song Xiaowan's gaze. There was only a poor student in shabby clothes, whose whole outfit was worth less than 2,000 yuan, coming out of the bathroom. He even boasted, "Her mother only owes you more than 1 million yuan, I'll pay it back for her." Then he turned around and borrowed a pen and paper from the waiter and skillfully wrote down his name, just like signing a check in the previous life. "In 10 years. I'll pay you back 10 times the principal and interest." The hooligans laughed angrily and directly tore the IOU into pieces and threw them in Gu Jingqing's face. TSK. I felt embarrassed for him at this scene. Seeing that the hooligans didn't appreciate it, Gu Jingqing singled me out from the onlookers. "Su Ran, pay off this money for her, and I'll consider being your boyfriend." "Me? I can let you have my person, but my heart will always belong to Wanner." "Brother Gu, don't." Gu Jingqing closed his eyes, as if determined to sacrifice himself, and grabbed my shoulders, about to force a kiss. I instinctively slapped him, endured the nausea, and cursed, "Are you crazy? When did I say I liked you? Gu Jingqing turned his head, poked his swollen left cheek with his tongue, and sneered, pretend all you want. In the previous life, you were crazy about me. Please, when you were reborn, bring some brains with you, okay? In the previous life, I did like you. But that was also 3 years later. Now, I don't know you well, don't come looking for a beating. Sure enough, you also have memories of the previous life. Gu Jingqing wasn't the least bit surprised. After all, the three of us died together in the previous life. Since both he and Song Shaowan were reborn, there was no reason for me to be an exception. That's great, no need for me to prove anything. If you obediently take out the money, in 10 years, I'll ensure the safety of your family. Otherwise, you know what the consequences of angering me are. Gu Jingqing had always been vengeful. The first thing he did after becoming the richest man was to get rid of those who had bullied him. But don't forget, without me, you can't become the richest man in this life. Oh, really? ###6. I rolled my eyes helplessly, afraid of getting into trouble. I turned around and quickly fled the scene. Gu Jingqing was still chasing after me, threatening, Su Ranran. I promise you will pay a heavy price for your wrong decision today. Later, I heard the story of what happened after I left that day from the monitor. In order to get away, Gu Jingqing told the debt collectors that he had a connection with their boss. In the previous life, their boss had fawned over him to make money, but unfortunately, he didn't take a fancy to him. In this life, as long as they showed him some face and wiped out the debt, in 10 years, he would surely lead them to do business and make a fortune. As a result, they thought he was crazy and directly beat him up. If the monitor hadn't secretly called the police, the two of them would have been thrown into the Huangpu River to feed the fish. The monitor directed the classmates to move Gu Jingqing and Song Shaowan's desks out. He said, these two dropped out of school. They said they were going to start a business and make a fortune. I knew about this. A few days ago, Gu Jingqing sent me a WeChat message to provoke me, saying that he would soon make me lose everything and asking me if I regretted it in the previous life. If you hadn't brought people to catch us cheating and had turned a blind eye to Warner's existence, maybe you could have always been the richest man's wife. It's a pity that you just couldn't tolerate her. I replied to him, who do you think you are? You still want to keep a mistress outside? Do you deserve it? Now it seems that Warner is indeed more suitable to be the richest man's wife than you. Get lost, you gigolo. In the previous life, I knew that Gu Jingqing secretly embezzled public funds to buy a luxury house and cars for Song Shaowan and that the two of them plotted to kill me. I endured it to find the evidence to make him leave the house penniless. After I firmly held the real power, I went to expose the true features of this adulterous couple. At that time, Song Shaowan was already 6 months pregnant and was racking her brains to force me out. Seeing me come to catch them cheating, she was still looking smug. But when the lawyer announced that Gu Jingqing wouldn't get a single cent, Song Shaowan couldn't sit still. She secretly turned on the gas in the kitchen and, taking me by surprise, pushed me in, trying to silence me. At the moment before the gas explosion, I dragged the two of them in with me, one in each hand. With their 3 lives as my companions in death, no matter how you calculate it, I didn't lose. In this life, I didn't want to have any more dealings with them. But since Gu Jingqing insisted on tearing his face off with me, there was nothing I could do. 3 days later, I went to the business incubation base with my father and saw Gu Jingqing. He dropped out of school and settled here, wanting to replicate the path to success in the previous life. But how could it be that easy? Which company would trust a high school dropout? In the previous life, he had a Tsinghua University degree and my recommendation. He could stand on the podium and tell those busy CEOs his ideas. But in this life, he didn't even have the qualification to enter the door. He even sneaked in by bribing the security guard. Gu Jingqing was extremely proud when he saw me and deliberately hid his business plan behind his back. I won't cooperate with Su's group, no matter who I cooperate with. Su Ranran, give up. Is it possible that I'm here to invest in someone else? I'm not interested in him at all. ###7. In fact, in the previous life, my father valued my senior, Su Yi, the most. He was also a top-notch graduate from Tsinghua University. He was low-key, reliable in handling things, and much more mature in thinking than Gu Jingqing. My father intended to match us up and cultivate him to be the successor. Unfortunately, in the previous life, the person I liked wasn't him. Sui could only reluctantly become the vice president of the group. It can be said that Gu Jingqing was only the richest man in name, while the real person in power of the group was Sui. Because of me, he had been wronged for too long. In this life, I will return the glory that belongs to him. After just half an hour of his speech, my father decided to invest in him. After the event, Sui specifically found me to thank me. I heard that it was your strong recommendation that convinced Chairman Su to come and listen to my speech in person. Thank you. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have had such a good opportunity. I waved my hand in shame. Actually, I didn't do much. It's just that you're excellent yourself. In the previous life, in order to help Gu Jingqing, I took away this opportunity for Sui to shine. It made him waste several years in an ordinary position. Fortunately, he was hard-working and enterprising enough to seize another opportunity. Otherwise, I would have been guilty. This time, I returned the opportunity to him, and Sui quickly made great progress in his career and became my father's right-hand man. I also successfully got into Tsinghua University and entered Suyi's research team. Later, Song Shaowan specifically came to the school to find me and showed off in front of me. Brother Gu has already secured investment. Although 5 million yuan is a bit